Hi, Mr. G Shave here. This is shave number 35, face shave that is, head shave was yesterday. Talking of yesterday, I had a request by a subscriber to do a video about how to start off shaving with a DE razor. So the first thing I'd say is take a look at my playlist, which I'll link, I don't know which side, it's one or the other. It'll just pop up on the screen. I've got a playlist called Shaving Tutorials. In there you'll find tutorials from various different YouTubers, but pretty much, I mean, the one that I would definitely recommend watching all the way through are the ones by Nick Shaves. They were made quite a few years ago now, but they're still as relevant today as they were then. There are others by Geo Fatboy and various other shavers, but I would start off with Nick Shaves because you will learn everything you need to know in those videos about what you need to start, hardware, software, all of that kind of stuff, how to prepare your face, how to lather, everything is in those videos. It's a really comprehensive set of videos, and that's in my Shaving Tutorials playlist. So today I'm going to go with one of Nick Shave's favourite, and it was from his videos that I decided to buy my first razor, which was the Merkur 34C HD. That was my first razor. My second razor was another beginner razor, which is also highly recommended by the community, which is the Edwin Jagger DE89. The main difference is length in handle, design of the head, and I would say the Edwin Jagger is a touch more aggressive than the Merkur 34C. So if your beard is quite thick, then it might be better to start with the Edwin Jagger. But if your beard is like mine, which is medium or fine, you could go to, if you've got a fine beard, I definitely recommend this. Mine's medium, I would say. I wouldn't say it's particularly thick, but the Merkur 34C is great for that. Brush. My first brush was given to me and didn't take long before it ended up in the bin. It was just a cheap brush in a Christmas present that really wasn't up to much at all. So my first proper brush, as I would call it, is the Razorock Plissoft, and that cost me, if I remember correctly, we're going back quite a lot of years now, but if I remember correctly, that was about £10. So whatever, I'm going to try and avoid prices. The razors themselves, the beginner razors, are very, very well priced for a beginner, and they're not expensive razors. Blades are cheap as chips. I mean, they're really cheap. You can pay, well, in the UK you pay 10 pence, 15 pence. I would say you're probably not going to pay much more than 20 pence a blade. So you compare that to cartridge razors, that's a lot cheaper. Okay, the cartridge razors last a little bit longer, but these blades at that price are easily cheaper and better value. So that's the brush. So go for a cheap. I would definitely recommend you go with a synthetic brush to start with. If you want to move on up to boar or badger brushes, you need to sort of be aware there's more involvement with that, in that you need to soak the brush for, it's probably the best way to do it is put a boar or a badger brush in some hot water, go and have your shower, come out and start your shave. So you've soaked your brush in water. So that's the basics of the hardware. As I say, I'm using today the Merkur 34C HD, whichever you want to call it. It's got an Astra green blade in it and the Razorock Plissoft brush. I think you can get cheap brushes online. Just get a synthetic one, and try and get it from a decent manufacturer like Razorock. There are others. There's Yaki, DS Cosmetics, although I don't have any of their brushes. I've seen quite a few other shaving channels use them. Right, so the other thing, it's an option, but I highly recommend you get something for as a pre-shave. So whether you get a glycerin bar of, a soap bar with glycerin in it, or whether you use a shaving oil, it's whatever is easy to get in your local area. I highly recommend as a beginner that you put that on, and I'll show you how that all works. Following that, I would get yourself either a cream or I get a shaving stick. I've lost the base to this one, but the shaving stick looks like that. So this is La Toya, and I tell you what, I'd highly recommend that. It's really good, but you can get cheaper sticks like Boots, but there are loads. You just search on your local Amazon site or your local internet, and you'll find shaving sticks really cheaply. But you can also get cream very cheaply as well. So Boots is a great one. There's also things like palm olive, Prorazzo. There's all sorts of different ones. I'll shut my cupboard because it looks a mess. So yeah, get yourself a cream or a shave stick. Shave sticks, you just take the soap out of the tube, rub it on your face, and then use the brush to lather up, on your face. With a cream, you just put an almond size bit of cream inside the brush once you've wet it, and then go straight to the face and lather on the face. The next stage that I nearly always have in my shaves is a tonic of some sort. So whether that's witch hazel or skin food or whatever, you don't necessarily need that. You can just as easily go with something like Brut or any old aftershave, as long as it's got alcohol in it. Alcohol's always good, but don't drink it, please. I don't recommend you do that. But and then follow up with something, a basic aftershave balm. Here in the UK, Nivea Sensitive for men is brilliant. It's one of my favourite aftershave balms. So that is all I'm going to use in my shave today. I'm going to get myself ready and we'll get on with the shave. Right, here we go. So all you need with something like an oil is a little squirt in your hand. Oops. Like so, and then rub it on your face. If you're using a soap, just pick up the bar of soap and rub it all over your face, and that's your pre-shave done. Wash off your hands, because you don't want because the oil or the soap will make your hands quite slippery. You don't need one of these fancy shaving towels. Just nice to have. Once you get into it, you start to buy things, and you just use a normal towel is fine. Your brush, synthetic brushes don't need any soaking. You just put them straight in the hot water and you're ready to go. So pre-shave is done. What I tend to do is just squeeze out the brush and give it 1-2 shakes. And that gets enough water out of the brush but leaves enough in there to lather up for your first stage of lathering. Now the one thing I wanted to discuss, and I've jumped ahead a little bit, before you start shaving with a safety razor or a DE razor, that's one of those, it'd be a good idea to let your hair grow out a little bit. Let your beard grow out a couple of days at least. And then stand close in the mirror and have a look at the way your beard, the direction the hairs on your face grow. As you can see on this side, they grow sort of down, almost straight down. On this side, they go across like that. So that's called, you know, mapping your beard. Yeah, look at which way the hair grows, and then on your first pass, which we're about to do, you go with the grain. Yeah, and I'm going to do something that I haven't done for a while now. I'm just going to do what most people will find is the hair grows pretty much straight down. So I'm going to do both sides like that. So here goes. Go straight onto the face. Haven't got enough water in this. Spray on. Make sure you've always got enough water on your face. And enough in the brush. And it will lather up. When you're buying your first soap, make sure you've seen a few reviews of it. This Brut stuff is fine. It's very basic. I actually prefer the shave sticks from Brut to this cream. But so I'm just lathering up on the face now. I'm just building the lather. You don't need to buy a bowl when you first start out unless you buy a hard soap. If you buy a hard soap, you're going to need to buy a bowl. Unless you rub the hard soap on your face first, or, you know, you can lather in your hand. There's a hand lathering technique, but that's really messy. So, and I don't want to overcomplicate things. I've seen people demonstrate it, but they very rarely use it all the time. So I go for a fairly dry, what I would call a dry lather. So it's not got peaks on it or anything like that. It's just as is. It's just the way I like it. I've tried with the peaks and I don't get on with it as well. I just feel that the shave is smoother like this for me. Most people would disagree with me. So when you're starting to shave, if you've got sideburns, just find the edge of the sideburn and just place the blade at 90 degrees to your face. So up here is where I'm starting. You'd probably be starting down there if you've got sideburns. But up here, 90 degrees, and then just tip it up about 30 degrees like so. I don't know whether you can see that very well, but, and then you will feel the blade cutting, and just make short strokes like this. Yeah, and be very gentle. Don't apply pressure. It's difficult to sort of tell you how much pressure to apply. You must apply enough pressure that the blade will maintain contact with the skin, that's all. And usually the weight of the head of the razor will do that for you. But it depends on the angle on your face that you're at. You've got to make sure that the head is always in contact with the skin, the blade. So that's with the grain, straight down. This is what most people will find is the way to do it. So again, starting here, tip the angle up a bit and just go down. The other thing to remember when you're shaving with a DE is you don't bend your wrist like you do with a cartridge razor. You don't do that. You've got to keep your wrist pretty much stable and solid in one position. So, because you've got to remember this hasn't got a pivoting head. So again, I'm just going to go straight down on this side just to demonstrate, although this isn't what I mean, yes, I do normally go straight down on my first pass. And what you need to understand with safety razors and cartridges and cutthroats, and you know, it doesn't matter what razor you're using, you are reducing your beard. You're not going to get a clean shave, a BBS shave on your first pass. It's just not going to happen. I don't care what razor you're using, you're just not going to get that. And if you do, please tell me what that is, because I'd like to try that, although I do like the 3-pass shave, and I'll explain. So this is the first pass with the grain. So again, not applying any pressure really. If you get soap on your hands, it's a good idea to get it off, even though most razors have a knurling on them, so even if you have got soap on your hands, you should be able to grip it. I still think it's a good idea, if you get soap on your hands, wash it off. It's just you're less likely to have an accident. So this is lathering up for the second pass. Now the lather on the second pass is usually a lot thinner than the first, because you've got all the beard hairs there that are holding the lather on the face. This, don't worry if the lather looks thinner. That's because you've shaved off quite a lot of the beard on your face, so there's nothing really to hold the lather, well, as much lather on the face. And then just paint it on. And then you go across the grain. So if you've mapped your face correctly, for instance on this side, I always go straight up. For most people that would be against the grain. For me that's across the grain, but I'm going to show what I would call a standard shave. So I'm going to go across this way, even though this feels against the grain to me. But I've done it this way many times. Many times in the past. Sometimes a good idea just to lift your cheek to put a bit of tension on the skin on the neck, but if you're a young person you probably won't need that. It's only when you start to grow your double chin as you get older. Again, don't apply any pressure if you can avoid it. Certainly as little pressure as possible. Puff out your cheek as well. When you get to your cheek, just puff it out. It helps you to get the hairs. So there you go. So that's the second pass done. I've gone across. So the first pass was straight down, second pass was across, and this last pass now, or it's the last but one, there's something called a pickup pass which I'll show you at the end. But the next pass will be straight up against the grain. Again, more water. You don't need one of these fancy spray bottles, but they are nice, especially in the summer when you put ice cold water in them. Oh, so nice. You spray your whole head. I've actually had that up in my bedroom in there when it's been really hot at night, because I live, my bedroom is in the loft, in the roof, and it gets really hot in the summer, because even at night the tiles on the roof radiate the heat in to the room, so it could be cooler outside than it is. Well, it is always cooler outside than it is in my bedroom in the summer. So this is looking quite thin now. I'm not worried about that. I know the soap is good and slick, and also I'm on my third pass, so nearly all the beard growth has been taken away now. So now it's against the grain. So now I've got soap on my hands, so I'm just going to get that off. So up against the grain. Again, just place it 90 degrees to the angle of your face, and then just tip it up. And you'll get to, muscle memory. You'll remember, or your muscles will remember the angle after you've done this a few times. I would say when you first start shaving, it'll probably take you between 4 and 6 weeks to get used to it. Your skin, the angles, but after that, I promise you won't look back. Now there is another technique which I'm going to show you on this side. It's a bit more of an advanced technique, and maybe I shouldn't be showing you it now, but it's called head buffing, if you like, where you basically place the razor directly against you there and just tip it up, and you'll feel the blade as you tip the head up. You'll feel the blade just cutting the beard. It actually, I think, gives you a slightly closer shave than the standard method, but riding the cap, it's not blade buffing. So that's the other method, is riding the cap. So the first method against the grain is just place it against the face like that and just angle it and just go against the grain. Or the other method is you go flat like that, tip up slightly and just shave that way. That's only against the grain. I wouldn't do it any other way. So that's 3 passes, so that you're going to be pretty much smooth. Feel it around your face, and you will feel, and you'll find as you shave longer and longer, you will always have certain patches where you haven't quite got it. And for instance, me, it's just under the ears here, sort of that circle, and a little bit around the neck on this side. I have a particularly difficult area on that side. So I always go over that. So just put on a bit more soap. I don't bother with any more water. Just paint it on. And then just go the way, when you're feeling around your face, you'll feel which way the bristles are lying. And in this particular instance, just under my ear, they sort of grow that way, which is a bit weird, but still. I've just managed to drop some soap on my glasses. So now feel around. There's a patch there. Just riding the cap, because I always think that it's a bit more efficient that way. Somebody's obviously using the tap downstairs and it sometimes makes that noise. I'm just going to let that dribble out like that. So that's it really. BBS, shave finished, and I'm just going to go and clean everything up, and then I'll go to the post shave. So I'll be right back. So back, I've cleaned up. I tend to clean my razor and everything. It's another thing you should really do, or get used to doing, is get an old toothbrush like that one and just clean your razors after you use them, and that way they'll always look nice when you come to use them and they'll last longer. So, and all I do is put a bit of antibacterial soap on there and just give them a quick scrub, and it's done and dusted, and you end up with a razor that looks like it hasn't been used. So, right, so next step, what I do now, I've washed all the soap off with warm water on my face. I now do a cold rinse. And what the cold rinse does is it closes up the pores and will actually stop minor cuts on its own. At this stage, I would normally use something called an alum block. That's A-double-L-U-M, I think it is, or it's A-L-U-M. I think it's A-double-L-U-M. It's just a block of sodium something or other, saltish. It's like a salt. And what you do is you wet it down with cold water, just rub it over your face. Now when you first start doing this, it's going to burn. It's even burning me a little bit now, not much, very slightly, just a tingle. You don't have to get one of these, but I do recommend it, because as time goes on and you use this, you'll actually learn how well you've shaved, and whether your skin's been irritated, and if it has been irritated, well, the alum block will calm it down. So it's a good thing to get, and it's not expensive, but not absolutely necessary. Leave that on for a few seconds and then wash it off. Well, you don't have to wash it off. I do, because it just keeps burning otherwise. There are many people out there that don't wash the alum off. I have tried on quite a few occasions to leave it on, and I just feel itchy. So it's just using a bathroom towel here. That was for the floor. So that's all cleaned off. You can use a witch hazel now, but again, I'm just going as I would go right from the beginning, from just first starting out my first shave. Just get an aftershave, preferably a splash on, yeah, and splash some into your hands, and this will burn if it's got alcohol in, although this is hardly burning at all. And because I've shaved my head, I'm going to put some more on my head. And this is a really cheap, and I'm pretty sure this is available all over the place, Brut. Just a cheap aftershave, as long as it's got alcohol in it, because that will help cleanse and close the pores on your face. And then a little bit of this, just put a little bit in your hand. I've probably got way too much there, so I've got about that much. So I could have done with half of that. So I'll do my head as well. That's the only thing with Nivea, is it comes out of the bottle really quickly. And that's really your shave done. When you first start shaving, your skin's can feel quite raw and irritated. I know mine did. But by the time you've persevered and got through week 3, 4, that soreness will definitely be gone. And by the time you got to week 6, you'll be right in the groove. You'll be shaving like the rest of us. So that's my take on a tutorial on how to shave as a beginner and the kind of products that you need. So I hope that helped. It's bye-bye from me, Mr. G, and the Merkur 34 for the beginner tutorial. Bye bye. See you next week.